What's up, everybody? So I was poking around at things, and I know that I said that my next video was going to have something to do with testing out the durability of that Templar Knight sword that was advertised as battle ready, that was made by Battling Blades. It was a pattern welded blade, and I didn't have a very high opinion of the handle construction or the edge geometry of the blade. I definitely, off of just those surface level things, found myself in a opinion that no, that was not a battle quality blade, but it might still cut things. I've come across a little bit of something that has made me reconsider that. So, few things for those who do not know this kind of stuff. The handle construction of your sword is wildly important to how strong the sword is and how well you can actually utilize it in a battle type situation, or if you're buying a battle ready sword so that you can go out and cut tatami mats or milk jugs or ballistic dummies, what have you. Here's one thing that you should look for. Now, in reading over what they have said on their site, they do state that this is threaded together, which is not ideal. This automatically raises suspicions in my mind as a sword and knife maker. I'm immediately suspect of that because of the way that that is usually done. Now let me show you a little bit of a difference here. Here I have a sword made by Windless Crafts, and it is peened. It is advertised as battle ready, and I would trust that with this. It's sharp, it stays together, nothing's loose, it's peened all the way through, so the blade is actually pushed out through the pommel and then hammered back to lock everything down. It's not coming apart, and it has a good edge on it, and probably because it was machine done, it wouldn't surprise me, but it's very clean, it's nice and straight, it's got the right amount of flex to it, and it will swing comfortably, right? It's well designed, the handle is comfortable, it's not huge, and it's fairly decorative. It's a nice sword. It's a really nice sword for the money. Now, getting over to our friends at Battling Blades. At Battling Blades, they advertised this Templar sword as battle ready. Now, those of you who watched the last video, you'll know that this whole construction here immediately told me, no, it is not. Right? So, just to recap, things like this broken bit here that should match this, not battle ready. The handle feels incredibly light for as bulky as it is. The pommel is threaded. This immediately raised suspicions. I was even more suspicious when I noticed that there was adhesive anchoring the pommel to the handle. Then, in examining the handle a bit closer, I noticed something else. Can you see what I see? Probably not, because it's very subtle. But the handle is not center to the blade. So we can get a little closer here, and you can kind of see where there's surface over here and a little bit of overhang over there. The handle actually sits cocked off to the side. So that raises some issues. Okay, so your crossguard's a little crooked. That's not the worst thing in the world. But then I thought, this whole thing, this entire handle is locked in place by a threaded pommel. Well, what is a threaded pommel? Well, that means there's a little, it's basically like a nut and a bolt up here. So I thought, let's investigate that a little bit. So I grabbed a hold of this thing and I cranked on it to break through the adhesive, and what do you know? The pommel came loose. To give you an idea, I don't know if you can even see that on my finger there. That is glue. Not very good glue because it didn't withstand being twisted on. That's a problem. So I figured I'd keep going, and then as I went, I noticed something else. if you watch the tilt of the pommel, as I unthread it, it's migrating. Now it's way over here. Well, that's no good. Can't be having that. I thought, oh, maybe it's just the pommel, and they got lucky towards the end, and it straightens out because stuff mildly adjusts to make it look right. Well, there's your pommel. It weighs next to nothing. It wouldn't, in my opinion, probably even make a good paperweight. It's so light. Like, it's very, very, very lightweight, which is not always what you want. There needs to be a proper balance. Then I thought to myself, well, geez, that's a tiny little tang flying through a great big old hole. And then I knew for sure this can't be battle ready. The tang, I had mentioned in a few other videos on my Facebook and stuff, the tang is crucial to how strong the sword is in battle. The entire piece has to fit together nicely and have the right durability, as I'm sure those of you who watch Forged in Fire or Alex Steele or Skolagrim, he does a lot of stuff about this kind of stuff. But I figured in this one I'll actually take something apart and show you. This threading, I'm saving the best part for last. This threaded piece here is so incredibly thin, there's no way it would withstand a solid impact. Now I was thinking, well, maybe they just forged it a little skinny on accident, right? Because this is pattern welded steel. It's not Damascus, though it's called Damascus. It's pattern welded. It's a European technique. So I thought, well, let's see what's behind the crossguard. And then I noticed, does that really tip like that, just sitting on the sword? No way that seating is that wonky. Oh, but it is. That inside there, which you're probably having a hard time seeing, is those sides aren't level with each other, unlike the shoulders of the blade here. This is level. The inside of this is not. As well, it has a great big slot for a really tiny tang. I mean, a really tiny tang. Now, often it's not uncommon for a tang to have a taper. It's not uncommon for a tang to be, no thicker than the blade itself. That's not uncommon. Those are much more structurally sound than a tang that once existed, then was cut off to have a threaded piece lightly welded at a bit of an angle there. I'll try to put this on a better background here. At a bit of an angle here. And you can tell as I turn the blade, you can watch it start to point in different directions. It is not on there straight. That is a problem. This is not going to be something that I do test cuts with because I don't trust this. As well as most of the weld that was used to anchor this has been ground away. There's no real backing. In fact, I feel like I could probably break the thing off. I can feel the whole thing flex in my hand as I wrench on it. And I'm not, I'm not crazy strong. I'm decently strong. I shouldn't be able to just flex that in my hand like that. So that makes me nervous. So instead what I'll be doing is I will be getting the permission from the owner of this sword who actually purchased this to go through and make this an actual battle-ready blade. It will require a bit of work, recreating the tang and drawing it out, making a new crossguard, making a new handle, and a new pommel for it. It will also subsequently make the blade shorter, but will also give me the opportunity to take and actually properly heat treat this blade. I have found that this does not have a spring-like quality. If I wrench on this sword, I can bend it in half and it will keep that bend. That is not ideal for a sword. You want it to be springy. You want it to be able to flex out and then return to true. This will not do that. If I press it over my thigh, it will take the bend and it will hold it. So what I want to do with our sword here, right, is I'm going to get the permissions from my buddy, and we're going to rebuild this sword battle ready, and I'll be making a video on how that would be done with such a sword. Something that is already pre-made that just needs a little love to make it something more tangibly dangerous, I guess you could say, or something that is actually worth calling a battle-ready sword. So be careful when you buy things online. If you're looking for battle-ready, and the blade itself says its pommel is threaded, be cautious that this might be what it's hiding. So I wanted to show that because I personally haven't seen any videos online of anybody actually taking one of these apart and demonstrating why that's not a great idea. Now, I would take apart my Windless Crafts sword, but I can't. It's not without breaking it. It's peened, which means this tang was followed all the way through, up through the top of the pommel, and then heated up and pressed down to lock everything permanently in place. So without making some serious alterations to that sword, I can't show you the tang. So what I can show you is a tang that I'm currently working on. And that would be on this. This is a sword, they're a machete sword, short sword type deal that I don't know exactly what I would classify this as. But the tang on this is going to feed all the way through to the pommel. You notice it's about as thick as the blade, right? This is how you want a tang. Now you want your tang to actually be able to support some weight and take some abuse, because that other than the cutting edge itself, the tang actually receives a lot of vibration and it receives a lot of angular force and torque on it. As you strike something, you're wrenching on this joint. So your handle construction helps add rigidity to it, as well as a finger guard to protect your hands and that sort of thing. So when you're looking at things and it says threaded, it probably doesn't have a real nice hefty tang in it. It probably has this. And that is not usually battle ready. Does that mean they all are built like this? No, I have actually seen full-on tangs that have just been pressed down and threaded on the top. And that's much more structurally sound. I would still be worried about the threaded area breaking and the pommel breaking off, which then would allow the blade to slide free of everything. But that would be much more structurally capable than something like this. This sword is most definitely not battle ready, and by that I mean in any respect. And I hate to say that because the pattern on this, it's obvious that they took their time to do this right, to do the pattern right, and to make it very, very nice. I mean, it's a wonderfully done pattern. It's very, very pretty. Right? It's a good looking blade until you start really looking at it. So this is what I want you guys to look out for when you go to purchase a blade online. Then I ran into the problem, now I have to put all this back together. So as I'm putting all this back together, I find that a lot of it doesn't quite line up right. And because it doesn't line up right, without the pommel, everything sits incredibly loose. You can get it fairly sturdy, and that's what I'm going to look for, so that as I go to throw this wobbly thing on there, back on there, I can then, you can hear everything clanking around and as I thread it. There we go, that lined it up. So now, I gotta hold everything in place while I tighten this down, because it is not, it doesn't lock itself in place. And now it looks just the same as it did before. So when it comes to this type of something, when you're purchasing it, I would recommend not getting threaded if you can help it. Peened is better. It's always better. Or integrated, which is a thing that you don't often hear a whole lot of people talk about. You're peened and threaded fairly often in this world, but you don't often hear about the integrated pommel and integrated crossguard. Integrated meaning it's all made from the same thing and the handle was put on around and in between the two pieces that were all forged from the same piece. There is no separation, right? That is another really, really good way and a relatively advanced way to make yourself a very solid sword. This is just not done right. So my next video ideally will be comprised of taking this sword and getting the permissions to make it right and rebuild it and just take and fix what I have here from the owner to make this a more suitable battle-ready blade. Unfortunately, I cannot do any cut tests with this for the tang and the fact that it's not sharp. So it's just not there. This is not a battle quality blade. And I certainly hope that Battling Blades does not have this as a standard for the way that they make things and then are telling everybody that what they make is battle ready, because you're going to get those kids out there, or even adults out there. You can find plenty of these videos online here on YouTube of people going out because they have a battle ready sword, and what they end up doing is breaking the sword and hurting themselves. And as a builder, that you have a particular responsibility to make sure that the piece itself in use is no more a threat to the user than the user. It needs to stay together. If you have something that gets struck and it snaps, or is striking something and it snaps and the blade goes flying out, that presents a hazard to anyone around the user and the user themselves. So I won't be doing any cut tests with that, but I can do some cut tests with some other things, and some of the things that I've made, I'd be happy to give you guys some cut tests. But in the meantime, go ahead and drop a comment down below there so that you can let me know what you want to see next out of the channel, and I will get on that. And the next thing after that will be rebuilding this sword and making it actually battle ready. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.